Oh, hello. Welcome, friends, frenemies, enemies, and everybody in between. I don't think I have frenemies. Actually, that's not true. The whole Discord, all of you are frenemies. Every single one of you motherfuckers. What's going on? Hello, what is up? Hoi hoi hoi, oi hoi me noi, oh hoi hoi me noi. What up? Hey, it's me, your boy. We're here with more fucking Project 2025 after that fucking presidential beatdown. Trump got his butt absolutely fucking whooped. The question that I was most thought might be the worst off for Kamala Harris was the question about Israel versus Palestine. I think she gave a very political answer, which, given the context, makes sense. I would like to see her use this as a jumping off point to be more aggressive. The fact that she also refused to meet Netanyahu was brought up, and I thought, Trump talked about that as if it wasn't a point in her favor. Which was kind of funny. So if you haven't watched the presidential debate, it's not that long and it's actually not too bad. The only thing that I found frustrating while I was watching it, I think, was the moderators kind of let Trump just ramble a lot, and just interrupt a lot, and Kamala tried to interrupt one time to say something and they wouldn't let her, and I get it, but also it was kind of bad. The moderator did fact check Trump a couple of times. I feel like that was more of a matter of circumstance. My criticism is coming more from a matter of circumstance rather than I think anybody actually did anything wrong or malicious. But yeah, that was my brief thoughts on it. It would be fun to go through and fact check it, but Trump just sounded like a rambling lunatic. Absolutely. And he was so mad. He was just yelling at nobody. And it's dude, there's 4 people here. What are you mad for? Why are you yelling? Everybody can hear you. And then he was pretending that Kamala was interrupting him and tried to throw her own words of "I'm speaking, please" back at her, and it just fell so flat because she was just It was pretty funny. It's a good one. I did see somebody post that take a drink every time Trump says million or billion, and I'm you're trying to kill people. But I think that could be a lot of fun. In other news, a YouTuber lolcow that we've been having a go at, that we've been having a little bit of fun with, decided that they wanted to try to put my name out there. My name she's not doxing me. I want to be clear real quick. My name is something that people know, that's been publicly available, but it's not well known, right? Because somebody's name is public information. It's not necessarily a dox, right? What she's trying to do is she's trying to freak me out. She's trying to give her audience ammunition against me and wanting encouraging them to go after me, which is, you get criticism, first thing you do is try to throw somebody's real name out there, right? This classic lolcow behavior. Is the same criticism for Erin that I gave to Katie Joy when she did it the first time to me. It's nothing new. It's not a big deal, but as it is. Yeah. Transitioning illegal aliens in jail. What? And then the eating cats thing. Oh my god. Although I gotta admit, seeing Kamala bait the shit out of Trump with when he got so mad about his fucking what was it, the numbers at his rallies. So funny. So we'll probably take a look at Erin's stuff either next week, or maybe we'll watch it in the Discord, or maybe both. We'll see. I ain't miffed about it. I think it's just stupid. It's mostly just her trying to be maliciously petty and stupid because she's mad that Manya told her that a website she had linked on her About page went to a porn site. We'll talk about that too, but that's stuff for another day. Very funny. All right, so the VP debate, the VP debate's gonna be spicy. I'm looking forward to that one. One thing that I've noticed is that I'm looking around at, because after the last debate with Biden and Trump, there was a whole ton of articles about how old Biden was and how his showing made him look like he was senile and delusional and suffering from dementia. And I'm like, hey guys, Trump didn't look so good. Was it because he was just spouting delusional nonsense and maybe his age has something to do? Where are all the articles? Where's that fair and balanced shit? Alright, anyway. Go Dr. Seuss with it instead of the Cat in the Hat. The docs by a fox. The fox did docs and is outside my house. The fox who did the docs is outside my house with a mouse. Yeah, it's not. I don't want anybody to get the idea that no. She's not doxing me. She's not doing anything like that. Hold on 1 second. I'm getting a notification here. I have returned. Roommate's going out to Tim Hortons and wanted to know if I wanted anything. All right. Okay. So, to business. We are on chapter 8 of this piece of garbage. Hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage. So let's zoomy our way down. We're on what, page 240 something? 240? Is that about right? I think that's about right. Enough about stupid people being stupid. Lolcow Mondays is for Mondays, so she's gonna have to wait. I'm sorry. The drama. Oh. It's just so stupid. It's so funny. It's just such lolcow behavior. You get criticism, and then, oh yeah, don't worry, Puck will get a donut when they get back. They bring him a donut every time, so he'll get like a little Timbit. It's just such lolcow behavior. Get criticism because of obvious thing that they could easily just fix. Instead of just fixing it, double down, throw a tantrum, and then start trying to dox people. But yeah, no, like, Erin has my full name. I was at court. That was one of the things that Veda, her friend, was threatening. She's like, oh, if you go to court, I'm going to have your full information. I'm going to know where you live and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, fucking whatever, who gives a shit? Fucking I don't care, dude. Like, it's really funny, though. I'm not gonna lie. We'll talk about it more later today. Probably during the art stream. I don't want to take up too much time here. I also have some stuff to do with Manya after this, so got some recording to do. So, here we go. Chapter 8. Media agencies. Oh, right, it's this one. Okay. Yeah, I've said my full name on stream before. And Steve was giving out my middle name to people when the split happened. Steve was giving out my middle name to people as well. So it's not like it's what it is it's not like, it's not illegal, and it's not really a big deal to me personally, but it is an etiquette that is clearly meant to be either intimidating or malicious or try to get back at somebody. Like, Erin knows that she has some really problematic, like, Nazi, racist, transphobic people in her audience, that she's basically giving that information out on purpose for malicious intent, right? Like, she knows that nobody calls me or uses that my actual name on the internet, so she's doing it on purpose. But it's who cares? It's fine. It's well, it's not fine, but, like, I'm in a unique position that it doesn't affect me. So, I don't fucking care. What's she gonna do? Call my phone that has no SIM card in it? Like, whatever. Anyway. Let's get started in this. 8. Media agencies. U.S. Agency for Global Media. Mora Namdar. So, the formatting is off on this because, like, it's not under here, like it has been the whole time. This tag is here again. I swear to God, this was not here when I started this, so I don't know. I'm losing my mind on that. I'm getting the Mandela effect. No, not the Mandela effect. What's it called? Whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. Ugh. Mission statement. The mission of the United States Agency for Global Media, or USAGM, is to... Oh, God, the fucking... The initials kill me. Is to inform, engage, and connect people around the world in support of freedom and democracy. And oil. Weapons of mass destruction. The mission is, however, the mission statement does not reflect the current work of the agency. The mission is noble, but the execution is lacking. To fulfill its mission, AGM should also aim to present the truth about America and American policy, not parrot America's adversaries' propaganda and talking points. Oh, really? Oh, the irony after listening to Trump talk about people eating pets. Illegal aliens eating people's pets. Which was also repeated by Elon Musk on Twitter, by the way. No, not deja vu. There's a term for it, but when like if you remember Pikachu with having like no color on its tail, like you I forget what it's called. Overview. Originally formed as the Broadcasting Board of Governors, BBG, in 1994, the BBG changed its name in 2018 to the United States Agency for Global Media. The USAGM is a sub-cabinet agency of the United States government, the U.S. government, with a budget of just under $1 billion. The agency oversees two government broadcasting networks, the Voice of America, VOA, and the Office of Cuba Broadcasting, OCB. USAGM also oversees 100% of the grant funding for several independent guarantee organizations, including the Middle East Broadcasting Network, or the MBN, Radio Free Asia, RFA, Radio Free Europe / Radio Liberty, RFE / RL, and the newly formed Open Technology Fund, OTF. Voice of America. Oh my God, why? I hate you. I hate these yellow blocks. It drives me fucking... Oh, it is the Mandela effect? Oh, I was correct? Hey, nice. Good job, me brain. Good. The Voice of America provides news and information in 48 languages to a weekly audience of more than 326 million people worldwide. For more than 80 years, the VOA journalists have supplied news and information about... Is that better for you guys? That should be better. VOA journalists have supplied news and information about the U.S., audience-specific regions of interest and concern, and the world at large. VOA radio and television signals are broadcast approximately 3,500 affiliates, and satellite transmissions reach countries where free speech is banned or where civil security is under threat. VOA uses digital web and mobile media as well, which, while sometimes useful in propagating valuable information globally, has created specific violations of the agency's prohibition against broadcasting to domestic U.S. Audience, particularly with regard to frequently political content, as has been the practice with recent and current VOA content directors and managers. The network once had a generally well-received brand value, but it has deteriorated under decades of poor leadership and a loss of its once prized unbiased reporting. They're always complaining about bias because the facts don't agree with whatever bullshit they're fucking spinning. CNN will be replaced with DNN, Dawn News nonsense. And other network, fake news, totally fake news. We've been reading Pathfinder. Oh, that's awesome. I love to hear that. I love to hear that shit. You guys should come and join us on Friday, September 20th for the quintessential launching of our TTRPG play that we are doing. It's got me, it's got Dapper Dino, it's got Reason to Doubt, we've got Crusher and Sar joining us as well, and Fight the Flat Earth is going to be there. We're playing Star Trek TTRPG, and it's going to be hella fun. You are not prepared for what I'm about to do to these fucking people. The network, blah, blah, blah. There are bright spots within VOA, but mismanagement and declining production values have diluted its once great reputation as a singular voice in America news broadcasting abroad. The Office of Cuba Broadcasting oversees radio and television Marty? I don't know. A multimedia hub of news, information, and analysis that provides the people of Cuba with programs through satellite, television, radio, and digital media. These programs present news and information about Cuba's oppressive government from the outside world that would otherwise be heavily restricted. The OCB remains a critical avenue of truth to the Cuban people, but has been threatened with crippling budget and operational constraints, including empathetic attitudes towards Communist Cuba leadership, coupled with organizational hostility towards OCB by certain elements of USAGM leadership. During the Biden administration, the OCB had been threatened with closure while also suffering chilling reductions in force. They say this like the Senate or Congress can't do things or be in control of another presidential party by another party while the president is in office. That is a separate party from the current sitting president. It's very strange. It's like saying, oh, well, Roe v. Wade was overturned during the Biden administration. It's like, yes. Go on. The Middle East Broadcasting Network. Can we just dump a bunch of more money into PBS? PBS was great. Middle East Broadcasting Network is an Arabic language news organization with a weekly audience of 27.4 million people in 22 countries in the Middle East and North Africa. And the MBN consists of 2 television networks, radio, website, and social media platforms. Together, they deliver news and analysis on the region, American policies, and Americana. The MBN has correspondents throughout the Middle East and North Africa. Radio Free Europe / Radio Liberty is a private nonprofit multimedia broadcasting corporation that serves a surrogate media source in 27 languages in 23 countries, including Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Russia, and Ukraine. Founded in the early days of the Cold War. Puck, the door is open. Have you just not figured out how to open this door? You know how to open the other doors. Why do you struggle with this one so much? I don't understand. He's like, just look at this. What are you doing? Puck, what are you doing? Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, the door is open. Goomba? I don't know, he's being a goofball. Alright. Sorry about that. Yes, Cuba. So restrictive that they check notes legalize gay marriage through national referendum. Oh, yes. Yes. Imagine that. Ugh, not in my fucking theocracy. Founded in the early days of the Cold War, Radio Free Europe in 1949 and Radio Liberty in 1953, and merged in 1976. Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty were intended to execute edgy and daring information operations and unrestricted news reporting deep behind the Iron Curtain. Unfortunately, like other broadcast organizations under USAGM, REF/RL has surrendered much of its rich history to an approach that favors political trends as opposed to operations that support and represent America abroad. While there are some bright spots within RFE/RL, much of the network has redundant programming, which certain VOA language services, often with competing, counterproductive, or dissimilar messaging. So it's repetitive, but it's dissimilar? What? It's also possible that, like, TV and radio aren't nearly as popular anymore as internet, which is why, Russia is paying for internet people to make, like, podcasters to make propaganda for them to the American people. Maybe. Though the times they are a-changin'. The recent addition of RFE/RL Hungarian language service Százabad Europa, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, falls outside the intended scope of RFE/RL charter by targeting a democratically elected pro-American Europe and NATO ally. Not least, RFE/RL has been plagued by several serious espionage-related security risks within its ranks. Oh, you mean like Trump? Radio Free Asia, or Elon. Radio Free Asia is a private, nonprofit, multimedia news corporation that brings news and uncensored content to people in 6 Asian countries that restrict free speech, freedom of the press, and access to reliable information. RFA also provides educational and cultural programming as well as forums for audiences to engage in open dialogue and freely express opinions. RFA utilizes on-the-ground reporting and networks of in-country sources, citizen journalists, and eyewitnesses who provide leads, tips, images, and video. Several reports from the Office of the Inspector General, or OIG, were released showing waste and self-dealing, including security vulnerabilities and RFA leadership awarding insiders millions of dollars of grant funding. For example, as the OIG stated in one report, the then president of RFA, quote, established the Freedom to Connect Foundation, and thereafter, quote, awarded 2 contracts totaling $1.2 million to the foundation she herself founded. Furthermore, Subud is the H. I'm sorry, I apologize. I do my best. I'm not good at the wording, or I can't read. I'm sorry, I do try. Hello, hi. Hello. Hi. Hello. When is it going to be legal to marry your brother? Man, I don't know. You know, you don't have to get the government involved in your relationships. It's not a requirement. I need to write down one. Sorry. That's what I wanted to... I don't know what this story is behind the Freedom to Connect Foundation corruption, what they're suggesting. Freedom to Connect Foundation corruption. So that's going on the board. This is page 269. Hey, Lamal, let's go. Bonk. Onto the board. This is our citation needed board. All right. Furthermore, the bracket. Hey, we got another one of these kind of citations. Interesting. I wonder why they weren't in the prior ones and now they are there. The OIG found that RFA did not comply with federal procurement requirements for grantees. OIG identified instances in which RFA and its agents did not comply with OMB, Office of Management and Budget, conflict of interest procurement requirements for grantees. Specifically, OIG found that RFA entered into 14 contracts totaling $4 million, 51% of the amount of OTFFY's 2012 and 2013 project-related contracts with the organization that had some affiliation with either RFA officials or members of OTF Advisory Council. So here's my question. Which times when the government investigation takes place and they find things and they count and are good and the government operating as intended, and which ones aren't? Because they seem to be flip-flopping on that back and forth throughout this document. The same leadership proceeded to wastefully form the Open Technology Fund as its own independent grantee, with the help of USAGM senior management prior to the tenure of Trump-appointed leadership. The Open Technology Fund's goal is to provide funding to support the research, development, and implementation of internet freedom technologies that circumvent censorship. OTF was formed under dubious circumstances by using coalition rules to usurp the mission of funding of USAGM's pre-existing Office of Internet Freedom, or OIF, which funded far more diverse technologies with much greater transparency. OTF, however, operates with far less transparency and strictly restricts funding to open source technology. Yes, correct, as intended. You don't want to disproportionately affect a company that should be making money on its own and not need grantees in their fucking vertical monopolies. I'm looking at you, Microsoft. The only reason I'm using fucking Windows is because it lets me use my fucking one program that I have to have. It's vMix. Hey, VMix, if you're listening, I love you very much. I really, really love your product. It's fantastic. Can you make it run on anything that's not Windows? Because if you could do that, I would really appreciate, honestly. All right, hot take. Hot take. What do you guys think is going to happen with Microsoft when Bill Gates is no longer alive? I don't mean like what's going to happen to his assets and how they're going to be dispersed. I mean like a lot of companies that have like a monopoly or this grandeur about them, when their like main guy, even if they're retired and don't really do anything with the company anymore, when their main guy goes away, companies tend to lose a lot of their cohesion. And so I'm wondering if there's ever going to be Microsoft being forced to split up the way Google is currently being forced to split up because of its dominance in the search engine market. So, you know, I guess we'll see. I don't know. I would love to have options and choices. That'd be great. Anyway, I guess that wasn't really a hot take. That was more of just a, hey, what do you guys think? Anyway, open source technology. OTF does not support any technology with partially closed source code, notwithstanding that such closed source code would provide more protection against hacking. No, that's not how that works. Tell me you don't understand anything about technology without telling me you don't understand anything about technology. That is not how that fucking works. Although OTF touts large user numbers, this could not be substantiated upon request for information. It was discovered by former senior USAGM leadership that OTF makes extremely small, insubstantial donations to much larger messaging applications and technologies to bolster its unsustainable claims. Despite its vibrant self-lobbying and publicity efforts, OTF remains a wasteful and redundant boondoggle. Hey, that's a word I haven't heard in a while. Linux is going to take over. Fuck yeah. Yeah, I can't. No, 3 options is not options. It's like being in Canada and saying, oh well, you have choices between if you want to use Rogers or Bell or Telus or Fido or Freedom Mobile, and they're all actually it's still a vertical monopoly of the two. This program that I'm using right now to stream to you guys doesn't work in anything but Microsoft. So there's so many compatibility issues, especially when you're talking about some intentional hardware issues that also exist based on, you know what? Conversation for another day. I do not call 3 options worldwide or like countrywide options. You have more choices in fucking cereal. Except you don't really, because that's still only like 2 companies. Anyway. Sorry. What a boondoggle. Its guarantee status was suspended by Trump-appointed USAGM leadership for a number of reasons, including non-compliance with its grant terms for actions that resulted in several fraud or waste investigations. The OIF, which were there conclusions to those investigations? The OIF, which predates OTF, was historically under USAGM's Office of Chief Strategy Officer and for years had been performing the same tasks as OTF within USAGM headquarters for the benefit of all USAGM broadcast networks. With much greater transparency, OIF succeeded with fewer staff while simultaneously fielding more diverse and robust technologies, absent a meaningful organizational impact analysis to justify the wastefulness of the decision-making process. OTF usurped the entire OIF budget and was set up as a new grantee organization. Exacerbating matters, OIF was shut down in order to provide massive grants to opaque activities of OTF and its founding leadership, who went on a free spending boondoggle. Okay, now you're overusing it. For high-end Washington, D.C. office space furnishings and top salaries for its leadership team. Numerous career staff whistleblowers came forward to sound the alarm about OTF to Trump-appointed leadership, citing concerns about OIG's reports, wasteful spending, and other substantive performance matters. Nonetheless, the Biden administration reinstated OTF to full operational status and ceased all investigations immediately after assuming office. Attempts at reform. Late in the Trump administration, following the long-delayed Senate confirmation of Michael Pack as U.S. AGM Chief Executive Officer, CEO. Agency leadership rapidly initiated long overdue and necessary reforms, including security reforms repeatedly requested by the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the ODNI, that had been ignored by USAGM leadership. You notice there's like a lot of this that is all intertangled and intermingled together, that it's just like, okay, was this the Trump administration? Was this after Trump had appointed these people? Is it those people that were complaining, or is it other people that, like, what's the context? Unfortunately, as was the case with the OTF, the Biden administration immediately reinstated personnel who had been fired for gross security violations, like Trump. Gross security violations. Placing the agency back into its previously failed posture, one that poses a danger to national security. The firewall saga, the vital error in USAGM's current organizational/cultural calculus is the agency's selective application of a journalistic firewall. The amorphous interpretation of a firewall shifts depending on which administration in the office and who is asking the question. I mean, don't you want that? Because not everybody has the same security clearance. Wasn't that something they were complaining about before? Achievement unlocked. Say boondoggle 10 times in a day. I'm at 5. I already got to 5 and you didn't even notice. Although a firewall should ensure journalistic independence, it has been used without formal regulation for decades in order to shrink legitimate oversight of everything from promoting adversaries' propaganda to ignoring journalistic safety. Often the firewall is touted when journalists are either promoting anti-America propaganda that parrot adversarial regime talking points or promoting politically based viewpoints in opposition to the VOA charter. Such weak oversight, alien to any other large media network or news organization, particularly ones derivative of the U.S. foreign policy and national security goals. Huh? You mean the public doesn't, like the private sector doesn't operate the same way as the government? I'm shocked, truly. Was erroneously enshrined in a document known as the Firewall Regulation. The Firewall Regulation was entered into the Federal Register on the eve of the Senate confirmation of Donald Trump's AGM CEO, Michael Pack. It was the quintessential midnight regulation, designed to throttle the statutory and executive authority of the agency head. It stipulated that agency management by standards unknown to most large broadcasting companies was forbidden from engaging in oversight and direction of content in any way, even false content. What? Again, this is coming from the people who don't want to do anything about misinformation on public platforms. $400K per month would be my minimum to say boondoggle 10 times per day. How many months would you do it for if you got $400,000 a month? If I got $400,000 a month, I'm pretty sure I would say boondoggle 10 times a day for like a year. And I would just get up in the morning and say boondoggle over and over and over again 10 times until I reach 10 and then be done for the day. I'd be like, yeah, check. Like, I'd sign a year off contract for that. That'd be easy. Easy money, man. Or is like the contract going to stipulate that it says like you have to use boondoggle naturally within a sentence 10 times per day to get this absurd amount of money per month for X amount of time? Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? By the way, I'm at 9. I'm at 9 boondoggles. Oh, there's 10. Oh, where's my $400,000? Let's go. All right. It stipulated that a agency management by standards, blah, 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 even false content. It ran counter to the law, including the Smith-Mundt Act, and it was harmful to the agency itself and the policy and national security goals of the U.S. government. Even content that went well beyond fair and accurate reporting on U.S. domestic and political problems could not be reined in by front office leadership under the firewall regulation. Soon, VOA's White House correspondent was posting content highly critical and personally insulting to the U.S. president. You mean the media was protected from dunking on Trump when he deserved to be dunked on? Oh, no. If the stipulation is to say boondoggle 10 times a day, you only have to talk about your contract. I know, right? I would just use boondoggle as boondoggle, boyos. What's going on? Like my opening word. It's oh God. Hey, Rogers, what's going on? Which would be a hell of a boondoggle. I know, right? Oh, boy, this is going to live in my head rent-free forever now, unfortunately. Soon the VOA's blah, 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 blah. In contradiction of VOA's own journalistic standard policies and procedures. It's not against the journalistic standard policies and procedures of the VOA to criticize the president if they're doing something that deserves criticism. Or if they're doing anything, because criticizing the government is freedom of... being free to criticize the government without repercussions is what freedom of speech is. Duh. U.S. AGM career officials consider such content sacrosanct? Sacrosanct. And bravely independent journalistic content protected by the spirit of the firewall regulation despite ample evidence to the contrary. Yeah, sure. Fake news. Late in the Trump administration, you remember that in 2000, when Trump ran for office, the last time, he tried to make journalists and people asking him questions the enemy of the people, right? Late in the Trump administration, U.S. AGM political leadership following an intensive U.S. Department of Justice review revoked the firewall regulation over the protests of journalistic organizations. None more vivacious. Ooh. That's not vivacious. I added a total extra V in there. That's vociferous? What is that? I've never heard that word. I don't think I've ever seen this word before. Vociferous. Making, given to, or marked by noisy and vehement outcry. Vociferous. None more vociferous than VOA itself. While the abuses of the firewall regulation are particularly disconcerting, they encompass just a fraction of similar overreaches of the agency's journalistic mission. This document accidentally this document for the government accidentally admitting that they tried to silence criticism and silence journalists in the Trump administration. What? Dictatorship said what? Fascists said who? Huh? Now this is some ChatGPT work. Current and former USAGM/VOA leadership who wanted to maintain virtually zero accountability and oversight. Again, I want to point out who this document is for, who this is marketed for, who promotes this. Vociferous. Boondoggle. Oversight waged a campaign of interference resistance and zero accountability and disinformation to stifle changes at the agency. Perhaps not coincidentally, various media outlets with relationships to former and future USAGM leadership published near daily criticisms of Trump administration employees and also of grantee organization leaders who were appointed by CEO PAC to implement long overdue reforms. Wow, you mean the journalists were critical of your administration like every other administration, and that's what journalists are supposed to do? Huh? Wait. No. Now they're like, now misinformation is a problem that we want to regulate. Before it wasn't. Now it is. If it's against us, we want to regulate it. If it's against you, fuck you. Agency mission failure. Currently, the USAGM, by and large, is not... Oh, the bad guy? The big bad overarching villains of Pixar movies? By and large? By and large, is not fulfilling its mission, which remains so ill-defined and ambiguous that it enables the organization to go about its business largely unguided with little to no oversight, rather than providing news and information in an accurate, reliable way that promotes and supports freedom and democracy. The agency is mismanaged, disorganized, ineffective, and rife with waste and redundancy. These shortfalls are either oriented towards or directly contribute to the agency's media organizations joining the mainstream media anti-U.S. chorus and denigrating the American story, all in the name of so-called journalistic independence. Oh, the vociferous boondoggle of a document. Wonderful. I'm gonna have to buy a new chair soon. My chair's starting to fall apart. These shortfall, blah, 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 blah. Indeed, content during the Trump administration was rife with typical mainstream media talking points assailing the president and his staff. A few bright spots within the VOA and the OCB are often stifled instead of supported. Top-level talent often leaves the agency or is met with obstacles rather than support. Opportunities for modernization and effective strategy are ignored, and wasteful spending and misallocation of resources are the norm in an environment in which nepotism is rampant and political gamesmanship protects bad actors. Amanda Bennett was confirmed as GM CEO in 2022 after 2 years of being blocked by several members in Congress. Legal advocacy organizations, America's First Legal Foundation, even wrote to President Joe Biden asking him to withdraw her nomination, citing several severe national security failures while she was director of the VOA. Her tenure as director during the Obama administration, and her holdover at the beginning of the Trump administration, was marred with operational failures, security failures, and credible failures. Those failures are reportedly ongoing during her current tenure as CEO. Oh, are they? Necessary reforms, security issues. The Office of Personnel Management and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence flagged severe security failures during 4 extensive investigations of the USAGM, each conducted during a 10-year period within 2010 and 2020. Security personnel and former agency leadership ignored these issues and allowed them to persist. In brief, the USAGM is vulnerable to exploitation by foreign spies. During the last 6 months of the Trump administration, known foreign intelligence operatives were removed from the OCB and RFE/RL. During the 10-year period between 2010 and 2020, both the OPM and the ODNI found that the USAGM's Office of Security under the Office of Management had grossly ignored and flouted many of the federal government's most critical and long-standing information and personnel security protocols, regulations, and practices. Oh, you mean Trump? You mean Trump, who was outing information and keeping it in his bathtub. During the investigation period, in which the findings were largely, if not whole... How ridiculous do you have to be to steal a bunch of classified documents and leave them in your fucking bathroom? Like, this dude is supposed to be rich and super duper smart. Why the fuck was it in his bathroom, of all fucking places? Like, you couldn't put it in a closet? Like, what the fuck? Like, that's absurd to me. Like, I don't fucking get it. During the investigative period in which the findings were largely, if not wholly, ignored by agency senior leadership, over 1,500 USAGM personnel and nearly 40% of its total workforce were performing their Tier 3 and Tier 5 national security sensitive portions with falsified and or unauthorized sustainability for employment determinations and with access to sensitive federal buildings, and information systems. In many cases, records, including social security numbers, were falsified or replaced with notational placeholders, and fingerprints in many dozens of cases were never submitted to the Federal Bureau of Investigation for basic background investigations. By the time these issues were addressed by the members of the Trump administration, more than 500 personnel with unauthorized access and clearances had left the USAGM and rolled into other federal agencies with reciprocal clearance authorizations. Many others dispersed into U.S. society. As of January 2021, the USAGM has not yet determined the whereabouts of these individuals. They got a citation number for that, so we'll see, I guess. The USAGM must never again be entrusted with delegated authority over its personnel security program and sustainability determinations until such time as it can prove that these failures will not happen again. These responsibilities must remain with the Department of Defense and the Office of Personnel Management, to which they were transferred in the final weeks of the Trump administration. Journalist security. Agency journalists, both on and off American soil, have faced danger. You mean like Trump putting them in danger by calling them frauds and that they're stealing from the freedoms from the American people and lying to them? Stuff like that? Rhetoric that gets people unalived? Yet their superiors have done little to protect them. Whistleblowers and Trump administration officials found that protection of the USAGM, American and foreign journalists employed by USAGM networks and grantee organizations was severely lacking. Against often significant resistance, political appointees forced action to enable broadcasters who were under verified threats to broadcast from remote locations while being protected by federal law enforcement officers. Okay. Likewise, political appointees met resistance from senior career officials while insisting that foreign-based journalists in high-risk countries make their locations known to agencies in the event they require rescue, extraction, or safe housing. Yeah, but if you tell people where they are, then Trump's gonna leak it everywhere. Such safety measures, argued career officials, would somehow represent a violation of journalistic independence. With only rare exceptions, resistance to the most basic journalistic safety measures was a knee-jerk response from the USAGM career officials. Wasting taxpayer dollars. The USAGM's current operations, properly managed, can be conducted on less than $700 million per year. Oof. That's really pathetic. That's a really pathetic number for, comparatively. Prior to the arrival of former President Donald Trump's appointees in June 2020, budgeting, financial responsibility, and spending totaled over $800 million per year, with virtually no oversight or supervision. Waste, unnecessary spending, nepotism, and pet projects, redundant programs, and unnecessary hiring abound. You just said that the government needs to spend more on protecting people, and now you're proposing that you're going to lessen the number? This makes no sense. Consolidation and reduction of redundant services. Bad middle management. Currently, the USAGM funds numerous redundant services through its own offices, through Voice of America and Office of Cuba Broadcasting, and through its grantees. For example, VOA has a Mandarin language service, but also funds redundant services through Radio Free Asia. Why is that redundant? VOA also has a Farsi language service that duplicates one funded through the Radio Free Europe / Radio Liberty. Surplus services in the same language are often unnecessary and counterproductive. Why? Fiscal responsibility and transparency should return to the USAGM, with coalition being a cornerstone of this strategy. As noted previously, it's like we only need one, and it's the American TV show. It's the America TV show. I know a redundant service, this document. The people who wrote this are the definition of could easily be replaced with literally anybody. Replaced by ChatGPT, literally. So silly. This is so silly. Oh my god. As noted previously, the Open Technology Fund duplicates activities that already exist at the USAGM. In the Office of Internet Freedom, numerous career whistleblowers came forward to sound the alarm to President Trump's US AGM political team about OTF's abuse and overreach, its opaque, expensive, and unnecessary usurpation of an existing US AGM office. It is an egregious example of government waste and illustrates the general disdain for US taxpayers that is rife within this agency. Yeah, because the journalists that already get paid like shit are ripping off the taxpayers. Full reinstatement of OIF would allow full agency and congressional oversight into how so-called internet freedom money is being spent. J1 visa program abuse. Rather than use the appropriate I visa, or one visa, I'm assuming that's I because the other one is J. I visa intended for foreign journalists, the US AGM uses the J1 culture exchange visa to allow foreign nationals to transition easily into jobs that American citizens with cultural and linguistic expertise could satisfy. The J1 visa is intended for cultural and academic exchange programs, among others, none of which can include journalism. I'm sorry, is journalism not academia? And culture? How is journalism not culture? What the fuck? They literally spent a whole bunch of time describing how what they're doing is bringing American culture to foreign entities. And now they're turning around and saying culture isn't included in journal. Alex said conservatives are famously bad at basic math. I wouldn't trust them saying that something can be done for X amount of money without it being itemized for scrutiny. Yeah, and like people getting undercut and stuff like that. Yeah, no, absolutely. I wouldn't trust any of these people to actually be able to do that math. How far are we through this rag percentage-wise? I'm on page 200. In the PDF, I'm on page 274 out of 920. Additionally, J1 visas are meant for non-immigrant temporary exchange. The US AGM's J1 visa holders often go on to apply for permanent residency, which violates the intention of this visa. No, it doesn't. Having temporary and then deciding to stay and applying for a temporary one is how it's supposed to work. Making a decision, you shouldn't be punished for making a decision later. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You're like, well, I can't give you a temporary visa because you might apply to stay here in the future. You can't possibly know that. What the fuck? Shortwave. How can you be so dumb? How can you be so dumb and being like, definitely let us run the country, guys? Shortwave transmission upgrades and improvements. Non-web-based technologies that are proven and durable, such as shortwave radio transmission stations, have been grossly de-emphasized in budgeting in favor of newer web-based technologies. This move is dangerously short-sighted and puts the U.S. at a perilous strategic disadvantage in the event of a major conflict, particularly with Russia or China. Why? Listen, as somebody who took radio, like I did a college course, I didn't finish the college course, but I went there. One of the gravest issues I saw with it is that radio refused to move forward or do anything new, and is full of a bunch of old men that just wanted to shit on everybody, think that they're a big deal, and demand you suck their dick. They were also super fucking misogynistic. It was a real fucking problem. And from everything that I've heard since then, it has not gotten any better. So until radio decides that it wants to actually pay people and doesn't want to be a piece of shit and is willing to actually innovate and be entertaining, they can suck my whole ass. There is a great concern about the vulnerability of undersea cable trunks that make up the internet cloud. The vast majority of global internet traffic, 95%, is transmitted through these cables, including news transmissions and web-based content produced by the USAGM's broadcast network. While the robust and popular use of the internet is ideal during peacetime, during times of major conflict, widespread damage to undersea cables that carry communications across the globe can reasonably be expected. Long-lasting power outages are also likely, such as those Ukraine experienced in the aftermath of Russia 2022 invasion. The USAGM's responsibility is for the only U.S. global shortwave radio capability is of critical strategic importance if U.S. is to carry its message to people seeking information and freedom within conflict zones. Shortwave technologies also make it possible to carry broadcasts in areas where internet traffic is severely restricted and is in many authoritarian states today. They're making it sound like America is going to get cut off from the world and there's going to be bombs going off in America and they're going to need shortwave radio in America. Organizational issues, personnel. Listen, being prepared for shit is fine, and do so reasonably. Why would damage to undersea cables be expected? Who would damage those? People who don't know how the internet works? Yeah, probably. It doesn't make sense to me. Like it's like cutting off your own leg and being like, "Ha, I got you." And it's like, you didn't need to do that. Like, you think that like propaganda and those waves of the internet don't go both ways? Like, they're trying to promote this fucking thing with China, right? Like, you don't think China benefits from those cables as well and access to information? Like, I don't... America's where all the good internet is stored. Oh, they're gonna cut it off. We're gonna cut off all of our good internet. Yeah. But put it in the Elon box. Personnel. Personnel is one of the biggest concerns for the USAGM and its grantees. Attracting talented staff who will stay and letting go of poorly performing personnel are hurdles. Additionally, whistleblowers have come forward with numerous credible allegations of illegal nepotism and improper hiring practices. Past agency leaders have ignored national security procedures when hiring and have failed to adequately vet staff. Government hiring policies and federal law must be followed, and serious policy changes must be implemented to end these practices. Relevant government entities. The White House, as an executive branch agency, the USAGM ostensibly should report to the president and coordinate activities with the National Security Council, NSC. Can I point out that Trump going through like all of like the trials and stuff is basically like, what if Reagan didn't step down? Especially given the direct and implied national security aspects of the agency's messaging globally. However, there is currently no specific office in the White House or the NSC liaison for the USAGM. The original network, VOA, functioned under the Office of Coordinator of Information as early as 1941, the War Department's Office of War Information from 1942 to 1945, and the State Department from 1945 to 1953, and the U.S. Information Agency from 1953 until the creation of the Independent Broadcasting Board of Governors in 1999. Although some oversight and management functions of the agency are provided by the State Department, the USAGM otherwise has little connectivity to larger departments or agencies and even less to the White House. Well, then they're not as much of a security-ish risk as you're saying. With the dissolution of the U.S. Information Agency in 1999, the USAGM has virtually been under its own supervision and guidance. The result has been dismal. The State Department, VOA, was most effective before and during the Cold War when it was under the direct supervision of the Control of War and State Departments. Oh, you mean when it was doing propaganda? You mean it was when it was doing propaganda? That's when it was the most effective? Oh. Were you at an AM station? Me? Yeah, I've been at AM stations. Yep. I've seen AM, FM, participated. I broadcasted for a little while. VOA was most effective before and during the Cold War when it was under the supervision of and control of the War and State Department respectively. If VOA is not put in the direct chain of command under the NSC, serious consideration should be given to putting VOA under the direct supervision of the Office of Global Public Affairs at the Department of State. The Office of Global Public Affairs was formed during the Trump administration by consolidation of the State Department's Bureau of International Information Programs and Bureau of Global Public Affairs, ensuring that that taxpayer-funded TV, radio, and messaging tells America's stories is imperative and should be coordinated with the existing foreign language social media platforms at the State Department. Currently, VOA's foreign language TV programming is unreliable and telling American story, given its amorphous interpretation of its independence firewall and its waning adherence to certain provisions of the Smith-Mundt Act, depending on which political party is in office. The VOA firewall is meant to protect broadcasters from government interference with content. However, USAGM staff have abused the firewall and use it as an offensive measure to block oversight. Additionally, the oversight, or that's because you didn't describe oversight before, you described punishment before. That's what they keep talking about in this document. Carrot and stick, right? And if you're not familiar with like what carrot and stick is, from a managerial or from like a position, like from a position of power, controlling the plebeians, I'll go through it another day. Let me know. I'm sure most of you know what that is, though. Additionally, the Smith-Mundt Act stipulates that U.S. AGM services are meant to tell the American story abroad, never to domestic audiences, but the agency has used its taxpayer funding to promote partisan messaging in the U.S. One of the most egregious examples was when, in 2020, it bought ads on its foreign language social media sites to disseminate the Biden campaign ad and target it to major Muslim population in Michigan. Moreover, VOA often airs foreign adversaries' propaganda, which is antithetical to its congressionally mandated core mission. State Department oversight or command may be one way to ensure that VOA and the rest of the USAGM returns and adheres to its original mission. All right, yeah, citation needed on that one. VOA airs foreign propaganda. Page 276. And we're zooming today. Maine, Alamo, 9/11. You mean Tim Pool? Spain? Blame it on Spain. The government would never plant dynamite all over a ship and then blame it on Spain. Never. Oh, wait. Listen, the CIA and the U.S. government has literally never done nothing. All right? They've never installed dictatorships in other places for the sake of, I don't know, vertical monopolies like Chiquita. Literally never happened. I don't know why my camera is pulsing like that. I don't know what's going on. It feels like what happens to my brain while I'm reading this, so I think it's appropriate. Often airs foreign adversaries' propaganda, which is antithetical to its congressionally mandated core mission. State Department oversight or command may be one way to ensure that VOA and the rest of the USAGM returns and adheres to its original mission. Clear lines of command and communication between the USAGM and the appropriate Office of National Security Council are also sorely lacking, and has been any reasonable are also sorely lacking, as has been any reasonable accountability for the ChatGPT, man. For USAGM's senior leadership and strategy. The State Department's Assistant Secretary for Global Public Affairs and Undersecretary for Diplomacy and Public Affairs should also be in the accountability loop for agency's actions. While the U.S. Secretary of State technically has a seat on the board of the agency, it is a toothless seat that is often deferred to as Undersecretary and or Assistant Secretaries noted above. This position should be relevant and directive when U.S. foreign policy and strategic communication are at stake. For example, the year-long delay in confirming the Trump-appointed CEO left a disastrous holdover leadership from the previous administration. Employing effective leadership even in an acting capacity, while a new CEO is awaiting Senate confirmation, is necessary to prevent a repeat of this behavior. Keep circumventing keep circumventing the Constitution and the Senate confirmations because we fucking suck. Congress. The USAGM receives its budget and mandates directly from Congress. Often, changes in major functions at the agency happen because of lobbying efforts of a few connected individuals, often grantees lobbying for more funds and less accountability. Those changes can and do handcuff leadership from any meaningful oversight. An overhaul of the agency with a review from Congress to modernize, streamline, and reduce waste must be done with congressional support. So again, they're saying shut it down and give us a review until further notice. Key non-governmental stakeholders, allies, and non-allies. These include industry groups, nonprofits, trade associations, foundations, and activist organizations, for example, America First Legal Foundation, USAGM Watch, BBG USAGM Watch, and a Whistleblower Protection Project. Okay, conclusion. Hey! The USAGM is a story of a lost opportunity both to help restore the world's confidence in the promise and ideals of America and to set a high mark for journalistic integrity and unbiased reporting. Do you have any idea what the rest of the world is going to think of America and the American people if Trump gets into office again? Do you have any idea, like, the way the rest of the world is going to fucking look at America? I'm pretty sure that will be the point where everybody just gives up. Everybody's got hope for America. We're hoping for the best for you. Everybody's like, you can do this. You got this. It's going to be fine. You're okay. You can do it. If Trump gets into office again, everybody's just going to throw their hands up and be like, we're done. Forget it. Whistleblower. Did anybody say Snowden? Oh, gee, I don't know, man. America will basically be Russia's bitch. Yeah, you have an idea, Honest Red? Do you think you know? Yeah, I think a lot of Americans know, and I think a lot of Americans have like the same actually have the same response as like other people in the world to be like, well, fucking get out of here, abandon ship. We're fucking done, dude. Listen, I wouldn't blame you if you're an American citizen and Trump gets into office again, or like something happens. I get it. I get why you're like, I give up. I understand. I understand how you feel. I get it. Where was I? Right. These two areas have suffered severely under 2 decades of USAGM mismanagement and lack of oversight. Finding solutions to these problems and the restoration of the agency's network must be priorities for future agency leadership. All these things are priorities. To accomplish this, the USAGM must be fully reformed top to bottom with congressional and White House support. The possibility of consolidating not only the agency's subparts, but bringing the entire agency under supervision of the NSC, the State Department, or both would dramatically aid that reform. If the de facto aim of the agency simply remains to compete in foreign markets using anti-U.S. talking points that parrot America's adversaries' propaganda, then this represents an unacceptable burden to the U.S. taxpayer and a negative return on investment. In that case, the USAGM should be defunded and disestablished. Guys, they want to defund the media. If, however, the agency can be reformed to become an effective tool, a propaganda machine, it would be one of the greatest tools in America's arsenal to tell America's story and promote freedom and democracy around the world. Oh, yeah? Yeah, that's how that debate went today. Yeah, last night, right? Sorry, yeah. I think I'm going to lose all faith in the American society if Trump wins again. Yeah, fair. If Trump gets elected, I say build the wall, but wait till I get out first, then wall America in. Ray Comfort in the Banana Republic. Just Cruisin' says at Autumn that they're halfway there already. Are you living on a prayer? You were supposed to be Canadian anyway. No wall unless it's sponsored by Pink Floyd. I'll take the shed in your yard if you take... Oh, you guys want to live in the shed in my yard? I wonder what America will do if there's like an influx of American immigration because a civil war breaks out in America. What Canada will do in response to that, because like Mexico and Canada are the two obvious, right? For Canada you just gotta go over there's just a ditch, so it's just a no touching zone, so you just go across. So I'm curious to know like what America would do in response to that. Wait till you get to the part about wanting to end PBS. Why would you want to end PBS? Oh, that's so sad. Spoilers. Author's note: the preparation for this chapter was a collective effort involving many individuals to whom thanks is owed. These individuals include, but are not limited to, Victoria Coates, Michael Pack. Oh, Michael Pack? You mean the guy you were shilling for in this helped write it? Huh. Wow. Shocking. Frank Wuko, and several brave whistleblowers who prefer not to be named. Their efforts were integral to this chapter and are greatly appreciated. What? Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Mike Gonzalez. Is this a new chapter? No, this is still about what? What? Huh? Oh, they added like an extra. What the fuck? I'm baffled by this. What? I thought it was done. I'm so sad. All right. Corporations for Public Broadcasting, Mike Gonzalez. Every Republican president since Richard Nixon, take a drink, has tried to strip the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, or CPB, of taxpayer funding. This is significant not just because it means that for half the country, Republican presidents have failed to accomplish what they set out to do, but also because Nixon, take a drink, was the first president in office when the National Public Radio, NPR, and the Public Broadcasting Service, PBS, which the CPB funds went on air. In other words, all Republican presidents have recognized that the public funding of domestic broadcast is a mistake. As a 35-year-old lawyer in the Nixon, take a drink, White House, Antonin Scalia warned that conservatives were being, quote, confronted with long-range problems of significant social consequences. That is, the development of the government-funded broadcast system similar to the BBC. The fuck? My unfinished journey for 5 said, speaking of giving up, it's funny that some MAGA nuts moved to Russia and were surprised to find they didn't have freedom of speech. I know, right? It's fucking wacky, dude. Scalia? Oh, Scalia. Is that Scalia? Antonin Scalia? All of which means that the next conservative president must finally get this done, and to do it despite opposition from congressional members of his own party if necessary. To stop public funding is good policy and good politics. Everything you've said up to this point is why you should put more money into PBS, not less. The reason is simple. President Lyndon Johnson may have pledged in 1967 that public broadcasting would become, quote, a vital public resource to enrich our homes, educate our families, and provide assistance to our classrooms, end quote. But public broadcasting immediately became liberal form for public affairs and journalism. Stop shitting on Elmo. Fuck you. You know what? Tell Elmo. You're gonna fucking come at that fucking... Can I get like him not looking fucking... There we go. Shocked. Elmo is shocked. Elmo's like, how the fuck? Look at Elmo. How dare you speak of our boy like this? What has Elmo ever done to you? Elmo stays. Elmo lives up here now. Elmo's poking in. Elmo's like, the fuck did you just say? Not only is the federal government... why did you do... I hate you. I hate this fucking document. I hate this fucking document. Not only is the federal government trillions of dollars in debt and unable to afford the more than $500 million squandered on leftist opinion each year. What? But the government should not be compelling the conservative half of the country to pay for the suppression of its own views. As Thomas Jefferson put it, quote, to compel a man to furnish contributions of money for the propagations of opinion which he disbelieves and abhors is sinful and tyrannical, end quote. A demonstrated pattern of bias. Conservatives will thus reward a president who eliminates this tyrannical situation. PBS and NPR do not even bother to run programming that would attract conservatives. As Pew Research demonstrated in 2014, 25% of PBS's audience is mostly liberal and 35% is consistently liberal. That is 60% of liberal compared to 15% conservative. What's 60 plus 15? Here's the problem, right? They actually think the number of people that are conservative and the number of people that are liberal are equal in number. That's not accurate. 50% of the American people are not conservative. That's not how that works. The fucking... oh, they're serious. Let me laugh harder. Learning the alphabet is liberal. Notice the part that we can squander money on bombs out the wazoo, but can't pay for Sesame Street. Yeah, you want to set up for a war with China, but you can't have Elmo anymore. What the fuck? Huh? What? 11% mostly conservative and 4% consistently conservative. NPR's audience is the you don't have to watch it. Stop politicizing everything. And then maybe, like, God. NPR's audience is even to the left of that with 67% liberal, 41% consistently liberal, and 26% mostly liberal, compared to 12% conservative, 3% and 9% consistently conservative, and mostly conservative, respectively. They also think that, like, it's a 1-to-1, right? Like, if you're a liberal, then you're all of these things. If you're a conservative, it's all of these things, and that's just not how it works. They may be an acceptable business model for MSNBC or CNN, but not for a taxpayer-subsidized broadcaster. Defunding through the budgetary process. Cutting off the CPB is logistically easy. The solution lies in budgetary process. In 2022, the CPB submitted to the Labor, Health, and Human Services, Education, and Related Agencies subcommittees of the House and the Senate Appropriations Committee its budget justification for a fiscal year FY 2023. And this time they put FY in brackets. In it, the CPB requested that Congress give it $565 million advance appropriation and a $40 million increase compared to its fiscal year of 2022 funding. You mean it inflation? Unlike most other agencies, the CPB receives advanced appropriations that provide them with funding 2 years ahead of time, which insulates the agency from Congress' power and the power of the purse and oversight. It's not oversight that it saves them from. It stops. It's only 2 years. You get 4 years in office. What the fuck are you talking about? This special budgetary treatment is unjustified and should be ended. I don't know. You just said every fucking conservative president has tried to attack them, so maybe this special treatment is by your own doing. The 47th president can just tell the Congress through the budget he proposes and through personal contact that he will not sign an appropriation spending bill that contains a penny for the CPB. The president may have to use the bully pulpit, as NPR and PBS have teams of lobbyists who have convinced enough members of Congress to save their bacon every time their taxpayer subsidies has been at risk since the Nixon era. Take a drink for Nixon again. the presidential debates should be taking place on places like PBS. Obviously not during like kiddie hours, but like that's where they should be held. They shouldn't be held like that. I believe am I wrong to say that ABC is a broadcasting agency that is the government, not like, or government funded? Am I wrong about that? I'm Canadian. I'm not entirely sure which one is, but I'm pretty sure ABC is, isn't it? It's like Canada has TVO, right? That's where Arthur played. Hey, what a wonderful kind of day. Defunding CPB would by no means cause NPR or PBS or other public broadcasters that benefit from CPB funding, including the even further to the left Pacific Radio and American Public Media, to file for bankruptcy. The membership model that the CPB uses, along with the funding from corporations and foundations that it also receives, would allow these broadcasters to continue to thrive. As George Will wrote, quote, if Sesame Street programming were put up for auction, the danger would be of getting trampled by the stampede of potential bidders, end quote. Indeed. Yeah, but that means that they're tied to a corporation then. Oh, ABC is privately owned, they're owned by Disney. Son of a bitch! No, Disney. That should be something that if it gets broadcasted, then PBS should be getting the money from that debate. That would be, that you want them to have more money, that you want less of it coming from the government. That would be a way to do it. You fucking imbeciles, you absolute fucking garbage cans, you morons, you buffoon. That's fucking ridiculous. How do they have to bid for it? Like, no, you know what? Questions for another day. Indeed, Sesame Street is on HBO now, which shows its potential as a money earner. I hear you, Elmo. It's the internal screaming. Public interest versus privilege. Stripping public funding would, of course, mean that NPR, PBS, Pacifica Radio, and other leftist they're not leftist broadcasters, would be shorn from the presumption that they act in the public interest and receive the privileges that often accompany so acting. ChatGPT strikes again. They should no longer, for example, be qualified as non-commercial education stations, NCE stations, which they clearly no longer are. I feel like I remember this being a fucking meme when I was way younger about the Republican Party wanting to defund Big Bird. I'm pretty sure it was George Bush Jr. that was, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was about, but it was a while ago, so I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly. And everybody's like, "What the fuck? They want to defund Big Bird? What the shit?" NPR, Pacifica, and the other radio ventures have zero claim on educational function, the original purpose for which they were created by President Johnson, and the percentage of on-air programming that PBS devotes to educational endeavors such as Sesame Street, programs that they themselves bias to the left, is small. Sesame Street is liberal cucks. I hate this document so fucking much. Being an NCE comes with benefits. The Federal Communications Commission, for example, reserves the 20 stations at a lower end of the radio frequency between 88 and 108 megahertz MHz on the FM band. For NCEs, the FCC says that, quote, only non-commercial educational radio stations are licensed in the 88 to 92 megahertz reserved band, while both commercial and non-commercial education stations may operate in the non-reserved band. This confers advantages as lower frequency stations can be heard further away and are easier to find as they lie on the left end of the radio dial, figuratively as well as ideology. You guys are fucking stupid. Holy shit. Oh my god, the dial on my fucking car. I fucking unfucking believable. Unreal. The FCC also exempts NCE stations from licensing fees. It says that non-commercial education NEC FM station licensees and full-service NCE television broadcast stations licensees are exempt from paying regulatory fees provided that these stations operate solely on an NCE basis. Yeah, that makes sense. NPR and PBS stations are in reality no longer non-commercial as they run ads in everything but name for their sponsors. So they don't run advertisements? This is the worst. AM travels further. Yes, AM travels further than FM. If you want but it doesn't, the quality isn't as high. That's the main difference. The quality, and if I'm not mistaken, AM also struggles when it comes to like forested or hill areas because the frequency doesn't go as high, so it doesn't reach as, so it will reach a lot further on like flat plains. So like in Alberta, an AM station will like fucking fly, whereas an FM station will fly but not as far. Whereas in like forested areas like Ontario that are hilly, an FM station has a better chance of having higher quality because it can go up and over the trees, as opposed to the AM, which should go further, but it's gonna sound like shit because it's going through a bajillion things because it has to travel. It has a harder time traveling because there's stuff in the way. My Unfinished Jury for 2 says, news that fails to facilitate tea equals leftist soy boys. Right? And how fucking pathetic and weak do you have to be like, we're losing to Sesame Street, guys. we can't have people getting education because education is leftist propaganda. Oh, so you're idiots. Oh, okay. Weird confession. NPR and PBS stations are in reality no longer non-commercial, blah, 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 blah. They're also non-educational. The next president should instruct the FCC to exclude the station's affiliation with PBS and NPR from the NCE denomination and the privileges that come with it. How is Sesame Street non-educational? These people are insane. Oh, hey, there's the end notes. Yippee. Was that just out of order? Like, what the fuck? Was that just an error? Sorry, I'm just gonna put these up so you guys can see them. Listen, I'm poorly educated. I don't have a whole ton of education, but like, I'm not this fucking dumb. Mr. Rogers wasn't educational. Reading Rainbow wasn't educational. I guess not. How? Tell Elmo. Like, what in the fuck are you talking about? I don't. It's baffling to me. Absolutely fucking baffling. Oh. Well, at least this one was shorter. Thank God for that. Fuck me. Ew. This was terrible. I hate this. This is extra awful. How pathetical and weak do you have to enact the bro code, homies over hoes? Thanks to PBS, I'm educated, trans, abortion, van driving, soy boy, cuck machine. Thanks, Elmo. Oh, god damn it, dude. Holy shit. You might not have degrees, but you are very intelligent and quick on your feet. Oh, thank you very much. Listen, I'm just not very conventionally educated. That's the way I like to phrase it. Well, I'm glad that was short. I'm not looking forward. We might take a break tomorrow from reading this because I'm getting a little bit tired, and I did 2 very big streams yesterday and the day before, and a lot of stuff that I've been working on in the background. So I might take a break from reading this tomorrow and then get back to it next week. So I'm going to see how I'm feeling. Perhaps after having a little bit of a longer day off, except I don't really have a day off because, like I said, I'm working with some stuff with Manya in the background today once she's awake and available. So we'll see. I will likely be back with more art tonight. I do believe I have a new Trigglypuff to work on, and I do believe I have a new Ren and Stimpy inspired image to be working on. So that's what we're going to be working on today on Twitch. If you come and find me, link is in the description. If you like art, if you like chatting, we'll probably be talking a little bit about this. We'll be talking a little bit about this. We'll be talking a little bit about that. Thanks for joining me. Phthalate is not facilitate. This is true. Did I fucking say something wrong? I probably did. I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for sticking with me on this horrible, awful journey down the road to ruin. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. I'll see you guys later. Fucking, you know what? Take us. Why didn't that reset that? Take us home, Elmo. Come back, Elmo. Okay, bye.